Jupiter, I think, is Phil.
In Virgo in the second house.
Yeah, I have a Jupiter Virgo and a very sensitive nose too. Discriminating Virgo.
Yeah.
Now, Scorpio and Pluto and the 8th house are still part of partnership. And again, this is much misunderstood or neglected in most of the books. But it's just as much part of partnership to be able to share the physical world with someone else, and very deep emotions. To be able to give to others and receive from others and share with others and enjoy it together. At the physical level, this is the last stage of the digestive process. So we really have all three of those letters in a row: Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. 6th house, 7th house, 8th house, that are part of that digestive process. They all have that same need to analyze and discriminate, to decide what is worth keeping and what is not worth keeping. But Virgo is doing it for efficient functioning, to accomplish something. Libra and Scorpio are doing it trying to recognize my rights and your rights, my power and your power, my pleasure and your pleasure. But they're still analyzing and discriminating what is really mine to keep, to do for my own satisfaction, and what is really yours, and I must respect your rights, and somehow we have to work out a compromise.
So defecation comes in this 8.
So that's right. Letter 8 is the end of the digestive process, where you make the final discrimination, what to keep and what to throw away, and you throw away what is no longer useful, relevant, appropriate. And that's bowels and bladder,
That's a
physical
Pluto.
level.
Pluto.
Pluto,
That's
Scorpio, 8th house, bowels and bladder. And if you keep it too long in the body, after you really should have gotten rid of it, you end up with constipation and hemorrhoids and pus in the system and surgery. And Pluto is very much involved with surgery when people are holding on to things that they should have discarded. So one essential part of letter 8 is knowing when is enough, knowing when to let go, knowing how to get rid of what is, if you keep it any longer, it's going to poison you.
I suppose it's the other way. You're keeping it, you're letting it go all the time.
Okay, the opposite can be true too. If you don't finish the thing, then it just comes back and haunts you in another form. It comes back at you again and haunts you in another form. If you don't really finish something, if you stop short of really finishing. And that's very common with the square from Aquarius to Scorpio, or the quincunx from Gemini to Scorpio. Because the Gemini and the Aquarius will tend to just go over the surface and go on. Where the Virgo and the Scorpio, or the obsessive compulsive, they've got to hang in there and do it right and finish it. So you have the squares and the quincunxes there between Gemini, Aquarius, and between Virgo and Scorpio. And one of my favorite examples, that you just gave me an opportunity to tell about, was a man who had a stellium in Scorpio in the Virgo house, total obsessive compulsive, and he had Uranus in Gemini on the ascendant, exact. So the Virgo Scorpio says, hang in there, hang on, keep going, do it right, keep everything under control. And the Gemini, Uranus on the ascendant, says, follow me! Don't get trapped! Don't let anything hold you back!
Why would you read Chiron in the 8th? I'm not
Hang on just a minute till I finish this story. And so usually I'm very careful not to hurt anybody's feelings, not to get too personally. I don't usually really ask serious personal questions, because I figure if they want to tell me, they'll tell me. But I couldn't resist that one. I said, have you ever had a problem with diarrhea or constipation? All my life, I've gone back and forth from diarrhea to constipation. I've never been normal. So, compromise. Find somewhere in the middle. It's possible to have a little bit of both. Chiron
I just saw
in the
Chiron
8th
in
house.
their 8th, and I was wondering how you read that. I'm not familiar enough with Chiron.
Problem is, you've got to have aspects and sign and all the rest of it. Really look at the whole chart to see how it fits in, but just read Chiron like Jupiter with a touch of Uranus. Yes?
I was under the impression that the sexual organs were moved by the 8th house. Do they come in here?
I'm not real sure about that, because the 5th is procreation, and the 8th is shared pleasures, including sex. But it's sex for pleasure, not for procreation.
In esoteric astrology, Libra is the one that rules the actual organs, and the Scorpio force is the force of the drive behind it, the passion, the energy that comes through those organs.
Well, there's passion in Scorpio, but it's for pleasure. Mutual shared pleasure. Leo is the procreation principle, where you create a body for a new soul to come and enter.
People share herpes and DD.
Oh yes, that's possible. That's potentially a Scorpio thing. See, infections in general are what the water principle. Pus in the system, cysts, anything that is in encapsulated fluid that is held in. It's like it becomes poisonous if you don't let it flow through and get out. So all kinds of encapsulated things with fluid in them are water in the chart, whether it's Moon or Pluto or Neptune. And particularly Pluto and Neptune, or 8th house, 12th house, Scorpio, Pisces, are associated with infections. But you can get it with letter 4 too. Just holding back and holding in too long and not knowing when you've finished and you can let it go. Now, another of my favorite examples of this was a lady who had Mars in the 8th house in Libra, square Pluto in Cancer in the 6th house, and Neptune in the middle in the 7th was semi-square, octile, both of them. Did her chart. I don't talk about health when I do a chart. And after I finished, she never said a word, so I didn't know if I was right or wrong. I have no idea whether I was hitting or anything. After I was finished, I said, any questions? And she said, yeah, what about health? And I temporized, as I usually do, and said, I can't just tell people they're going to be sick, but if they have a problem, I'll be glad to consider if I can help them figure out why. She said, well, I have cysts. Tumors. I have tumors. I've had a history of them. So far, they've always been benign, but I have another one, and the doctors want to take it out. Okay, tumors, encapsulated fluid. There's Pluto, a water planet, and a water sign in the 6th house. There's Mars in the 8th house, a water house, and there's Neptune, octile, both of them a water planet. You've got water at all 3 corners. Pluto and Mars both associated with surgery, when we are blocking our own power, turned in against ourselves destructively. I said, well, it looks like it's connected to your relationships with other people that you're close to, like maybe your husband, mate. It looks like it might partly be involved with joint resources, the ability to share the world, money, inheritance, pleasure, things like that. That's as far as I got. She says, oh, that's right. My husband's a big businessman. He's so tight. He even objects if I spend money on drugs for the kids. And I got an inheritance a little while ago, and he made me put the money in the joint account, and I can't even spend my own money for what I want. She was furious, all repressed, all projected. Mars in the 8th, he's got the power. I don't have it, he's got it. I said, can't you talk to your husband to work out a compromise? No, I don't want to jeopardize the relationship. Neptune in the 7th, he's God. He has the power. I can't jeopardize the relationship. I said, would you talk to a psychologist? Maybe you could see a psychologist. No, didn't want to do that either. So she'd go on having tumors. So she deals with that. Buried anger, buried resentment and frustration. But at that point she said, but I had one tumor before I got married. So you look back at the chart, where's Aries? We've dealt with Mars and Pluto. Where's Aries? 3rd house cusp. How did you get along with brothers or sisters? Oh, I hated my sister. My parents preferred her to me. Pattern right from the beginning. Buried resentment. Somebody else has got the power. Having a tumor is one way to get even with a tight husband, with the cost of doctors and hospitals being what they are. It's painful, but... So one part of letter 8, really essential, is being able to let go. Being able to forgive and release and let go. Being able to say, I've learned whatever it was to learn from that, out. Another of the stories I like to tell was something from a woman kahuna, the Hawaiian witch doctor, shaman, priestesses. This woman is a healer, herbalist, and does psychic spiritual healing also. She does the traditional ritual, which she said they call ho'opunapuna, and she goes into a family, lives with the family for a period of time, do this stylized ritual all together, all family members together, where there's illness. And first they have to forgive their ancestors back to the beginning of time. That's easy. Then they have to go around each family member individually and say, I forgive you anything you've ever done to hurt me, and I ask you to forgive anything I've ever done to hurt you. And she says she has spent as much as a week with the family before they could all bring themselves to do that. And she's seen people turn around from death's door and get well when they could do it. Resentment is one of the most poisonous illnesses there is, one of the poisonous emotions there is. And it will produce all kinds of illnesses if we can't clean it out and let go. If you want to know whether you have really forgiven someone, you imagine them receiving their heart's desire, the situation, the event, the thing they want more than anything else in the world. Imagine this happening to them and be glad for them. Then you've forgiven. So it's a big part of letter 8 is how to release and forgive and let go. And when you've reached that point, you're pretty close to being the adept with self-knowledge and self-mastery and the ability to live and let live. Now that finishes the